What if I told you that beneath the ancient sands of time lies a secret so profound that entire civilizations have been built to hide it? What if the first temple ever erected by human hands was not meant to worship the divine, but to guard something far more dangerous, the memory of who we truly are? In the year 3247 BCE, when the stars still whispered secrets to those who knew how to listen, there stood a temple that no map has ever recorded. Its location has been erased from every chronicle, every papyrus, every stone tablet that has survived the ages. But the memory lives on in the bloodline of those chosen to guard the veil between worlds. Her name was Nefertari, though that was not the name given to her at birth. Names she had learned were merely masks worn by the soul in its journey through the material realm. She was 27 when the calling came, a priestess of the lesser mysteries who had dedicated her life to the service of the Temple of Thoth. But on that fateful night, when the moon hung like a silver eye in the obsidian sky, everything she believed about reality would be shattered. "The time has come," whispered the voice that seemed to emerge from the very stones of the temple. Nefertari had been alone in the sacred chamber, copying ancient texts by the light of oil lamps. When the voice reached her ears, she looked up, expecting to see one of the elder priests, but found only shadows dancing on the walls. "Who speaks?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am the guardian of the veil," came the reply. "And you, child of the forgotten lineage, have been chosen to receive the burden of truth." The oil lamps flickered, and suddenly the chamber was filled with a light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. In that ethereal glow, Nefertari saw him, a figure neither fully human nor divine, draped in robes that seemed to be woven from starlight itself. His eyes held the depth of eternity, and when he spoke, his words carried the weight of countless ages. "Long ago," he began, his voice resonating through dimensions, "before the first pyramid was raised, before the first pharaoh claimed dominion over the land, there was a temple, not built by human hands, but manifested through the collective will of beings who remembered their true nature. This temple was the nexus, the point where the veil between worlds grew thin, where the imprisoned souls could glimpse their original home." Nefertari felt her heart racing. Imprisoned souls? Yes, child. What you call humanity, what you believe to be the natural state of existence, is but a shadow of what once was. You are fallen stars, divine sparks trapped in flesh, made to forget your celestial origins. The temple was erected to preserve this knowledge, to keep alive the flame of remembrance until the time of awakening would come. The guardian gestured, and the air around them shimmered. Suddenly Nefertari found herself standing in a vast desert, but it was not the desert she knew. This was a landscape of crystalline sand that sang with each footstep under a sky painted with colors that had no names. And there, rising from the singing sands, stood a temple of impossible beauty. "Behold," the guardian whispered, "the first temple. Here, the knowledge of humanity's divine origin was preserved. Here, the rituals were performed that could unlock the chains of forgetfulness. Here, the chosen ones learned to pierce the veil and remember their true names." As they approached the temple, Nefertari could see that its walls were covered in symbols that seemed to move and shift like living things. The symbols spoke of journeys through stars, of consciousness unbound by flesh, of a time when humans walked among the gods as equals. But why was it hidden? Nefertari asked. Why was this knowledge buried? The guardian's expression grew somber. Because there are those who profit from humanity's forgetfulness. Those who rule from the shadows, who feed on the energy of imprisoned souls. They could not allow the temple to remain, could not permit the knowledge to spread, so they sent their agents, their servants, clothed in false righteousness, to destroy what they could not corrupt. They entered the temple, and Nefertari gasped. The interior was a cosmos unto itself, with walls that stretched beyond sight, filled with scrolls and tablets containing the true history of humanity. At the center stood an altar, and upon it lay a single object, a veil made of light itself, gossamer thin, yet impenetrable. The veil of Isis, the Guardian explained. Behind it lies the final truth, the knowledge that would free every soul from its earthly prison. But to lift the veil requires a sacrifice, the sacrifice of everything you believe yourself to be. Nefertari approached the altar, her hand trembling as she reached toward the veil. What will I see? You will see the face of the divine and recognize it as your own. But as her fingers touched the veil, the temple began to tremble. The sound of marching feet echoed through the cosmic halls, and the Guardian's face filled with ancient sorrow. They have found us, he whispered. The servants of the shadow have breached the sanctuary. The time of hiding is over. Through the temple's entrance poured figures clad in dark robes, their faces hidden, but their intent clear. They carried weapons that burned with unholy fire, and their leader spoke in a voice like grinding stone. By the authority of the Conclave of Silence, this temple is condemned. The knowledge it contains is forbidden to mortal minds. Surrender the veil, and your deaths will be swift. But the Guardian stood firm. I have guarded this sacred trust for 3,000 years. I will not yield it to those who would keep humanity in chains. The battle that followed was unlike any earthly conflict. It was a war of consciousness, of competing realities. The attackers wielded the power of forgetfulness, casting spells that made the very memory of the temple fade. The Guardian fought with the light of remembrance, each gesture revealing truths that had been hidden for millennia. In the chaos, Nefertari found herself alone with the veil. She could feel its power calling to her, urging her to lift it and claim the knowledge within. But she also sensed that to do so would change not just her, but the entire world. Choose, whispered a voice. Not the Guardian's, but something deeper, more primal. Lift the veil and free all souls from their prison, but know that the world as you know it will end, or let it remain and preserve the illusion that allows life to continue as it has. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our content. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to know. With tears streaming down her face, Nefertari made her choice. She grasped the veil and pulled it aside, and in that moment she saw everything. She saw the truth of existence, the divine nature of every soul, the elaborate illusion that had been constructed to keep humanity imprisoned. She saw her own face reflected in the cosmic mirror, and it was the face of a goddess who had forgotten her name. But with that knowledge came a terrible price. The temple began to collapse, reality itself seeming to crack under the weight of revealed truth. The Guardian appeared beside her, his form already beginning to fade. The knowledge is yours now, he said. But you cannot remain in this world with such awareness. You must choose exile, must walk between worlds, carrying the truth but unable to fully share it. Then I will be alone, Nefertari whispered. No, the Guardian replied. You will be the bridge. Others will come, others who are ready to remember. You will guide them, prepare them, until the time comes when the veil can be lifted for all. As the temple crumbled around them, Nefertari felt herself being pulled into a space between spaces, a realm where the exiled guardians of knowledge waited. She saw them, men and women from every age, every culture, all who had chosen to bear the burden of remembrance. Years passed, or perhaps centuries. Time had no meaning in the place between worlds. Nefertari learned to walk among humans while carrying the weight of cosmic truth. She appeared to seekers throughout history, sometimes as a wise woman, sometimes as a stranger who spoke words that ignited the spark of remembrance in prepared hearts. She was there when the mystery schools were founded, whispering the ancient words that would preserve fragments of the original knowledge. She was there when the great libraries were built, ensuring that certain texts would survive the flames of ignorance. She was there when the seekers gathered in secret, sharing what little they could remember of their divine nature. But always, she carried the loneliness of the exile. To know the truth and be unable to fully share it was a burden that would have crushed a lesser soul. Yet she persevered because she understood that her suffering served a purpose greater than herself. In the darkest hours of human history, when the forces of forgetfulness seemed to triumph completely, Nefertari would appear to those who still carried the spark of remembrance. She would speak to them in dreams, guide them to hidden knowledge, help them remember just enough to keep the flame alive. The time will come, she would tell them, when the veil will be lifted again, when humanity is ready to remember its true nature. Until then, we guard the knowledge, we preserve the flame, we prepare the way. And so she continues her vigil, the eternal guardian of the veil, walking between worlds, carrying the burden of truth. Some say she can still be found in the spaces between sleeping and waking, in the moment of transition between one age and another. They say she appears to those who are ready to remember, who are prepared to glimpse the truth behind the illusion. The temple may have fallen, its physical form reduced to dust and memory, but the knowledge it contained lives on in the hearts of those who dare to question the nature of reality, who refuse to accept that the material world is all there is. Perhaps you have felt her presence in your own moments of awakening. Perhaps you have glimpsed the veil, sensed the truth that lies beyond the everyday world. If so, then you are part of the lineage, part of the eternal chain of guardians who preserve the memory of humanity's divine origin. The question remains, when the time comes for the final unveiling, when the veil is lifted for all to see, will you be ready to remember who you truly are? Will you be prepared to reclaim your place among the stars, to step out of the prison of flesh and into the freedom of infinite consciousness? The choice, as always, is yours. But know this, the guardian of the veil is watching, waiting, ready to guide those who are prepared to remember their forgotten divinity. The temple may be gone, but the truth it contained is eternal, and it lives on in the hearts of those who dare to seek it. In the end, we are all guardians of the veil, all keepers of the flame, all prisoners who hold the key to our own liberation. The question is not whether we can remember our true nature, but whether we have the courage to face the truth when it is finally revealed. And if you like this story, you will definitely love the next one that's appearing on your screen. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and activate the notifications. See you in the next one.